If you were starting your whiskey collection and I handed you $250, what would you buy? Would you run out and chase some highly allocated whiskey? Would you buy a $250 bottle and just be done with it? Or would you buy 5 bottles that gave you a variety of different whiskey experiences? Well, that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna give you 5 options to build a variety of different whiskey experiences for under $250. What am I gonna put on that list? Find out now on the Whiskey Tank. Hi, welcome to the Whiskey Tank. I'm Joe. If this is your first time checking out the channel, welcome. If you're a return viewer, thanks for stopping back by. I've got a challenge that I gave myself today, and that was to build a 5-bottle whiskey starter kit. But I had to follow a couple rules. First rule, it's got to be something you can actually find. It's got to be reasonable for somebody that's just getting into this game to be able to track down. That's the first rule. Number 2, every bottle can't taste the same. I want some variety. I want different things. I want to be able to make different drinks, and I want different experiences out of every bottle. Number 3, every bottle's gotta earn its spot. There's no gifts here, there's no gimmies. If you're on this list, it's because you deserve to be on that list. Now with that in mind, let's start with my favorite category, which is a low-priced whiskey. For right around $30, why not start with Old Grandad 114? This bottle does it all. If you're new to drinking higher proof whiskeys, why spend $60 or $70 on a bottle to see if it's something that you're interested in doing? Why not start with this? Because if you don't like this, maybe you don't like whiskey, I don't know. Now this is a High-Rye mash bill, so it's got some interesting rye spices that brings. It's also got a different flavor profile than just sweet. It does have some of those sweet caramel flavors and all those good vanillas packed in it, but sometimes I find little things like orange in this. I find a lot of citrus. There's a lot of really cool flavors that you get out of Old Grandad 114, and one thing I know for sure, it definitely will stand up to a cocktail. Now, aside from this banger of a bottle, I'm going to throw a couple alternatives out there for you to consider too. Why not think about something like maybe Wild Turkey 101? That's another great bottle at a bargain basement price. You've got Benchmark Full Proof at 125 proof. You get a lot of those famous Buffalo Trace flavors packed into a cheaper package. And then you've also got Evan Williams Bottled in Bond. So that's a couple different alternatives that are right around the same price point that you can start your collection with and have whiskeys that you're not afraid to throw in a cocktail if you want to try to mix an old fashioned or Manhattan or something like that, but will also stand up to sipping neat alone or on an ice cube. For bottle number 2 in your starter selection, I wanted to throw something just a little bit different than that Old Grandad at you. I wanted to throw a wheated bourbon at you. I wanted to throw something that might be a little softer, maybe a little more approachable for some people to get into. And I didn't want to throw Pappy Van Winkle's, because who the hell's got Pappy money, right? I mean, come on, we're starting out here. We got to start somewhere. So why not start out with this? Bardstown Wheated Bourbon. Now this is a really fun whiskey that's out there, and I threw this in a blind up against OWA and Jimmy Red as just some different whiskeys maybe to try in the wheated variety. Now it kind of gives you some different experiences than what some of those do. Now there are some other really good options that you could throw in this category, but I thought, why not? This sits right around $45 to $50, and it gives you a variety of something a little bit different to try. Now there's some fantastic wheated bourbons to try, and the thing to remember with wheated, right? If I say a wheated bourbon, I mean the number 1 grain in that mash bill still got to be corn, but the second most high ratio for a grain in a wheated bourbon is going to be wheat, and that gives it all those soft flavors, right? Those red fruits, those that approachability that you don't find maybe in some other whiskeys. It gives you a lot of options there for people that are just starting out to sip. Now that doesn't mean you've got to stay low proof. If you want to try something else, there's Maker's Mark Cask Strength. There's Maker's 46 Cask Strength, which is a great option. There's Larceny and Larceny Barrel Proof, fantastic whiskeys there, right? You've got Holidays Soft Red Wheat, and so that gives you just a different variety, but still all in that variety. But I definitely think that having a wheated bourbon in your collection is not a bad way to start off. So why not start off with this one? If I'm mathing right, I think that we're sitting right around that $75, $80 mark on those last couple bottles. So we we got a little room to play with, and I want to talk about a single barrel whiskey to start here with. Now, I was gonna go with a single barrel bourbon, but we've had a couple bourbons already, so I want to go with a rye. And there's no rye that I'm going to put out in front of Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. Come on, if you watch the channel, you know what I'm into. I'm into this. This is such a good whiskey. This gives you options upon options. It's got all the flavors packed into it. There's not a better shelf bottle of whiskey available today, and sitting right around $60 to $65. We're starting to bring that total up, maybe to like $140, $145, but we still got plenty of room to pick up a couple more bottles. And if I'm gonna pick one bottle in this category of a single barrel whiskey, I'm gonna go with the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. They are just delicious. I find all sorts of different flavors in these. I find flavors leaning towards that bourbon profile with the caramels, your vanillas and all that, but even more so I'm finding baking spices in these. I'm finding apple pie spices in these. Sometimes, and it does happen, I do get some banana, not as often as you think you would with Jack Daniel's. That's more in their bourbons or Tennessee whiskeys, but I definitely do find it sometimes in these too. There's just so much flavor packed in these, and you're gonna find these sitting on your shelf anywhere between 100 and low 120s up to like 140 plus. They have hazmat versions of these just sitting on the shelf. Now these are so good that these things go up against really allocated whiskeys every year and do great for me anyway. So I mean, I can pull one of these off the shelf, drink a bottle that somebody's been hunting all over for, pour in one of these, and it's like you're drinking something that's comparable to that. And these being single barrels, there's the variety that you find in that. Now, if you're not into the Jack Daniel's profile, you've got some wonderful single barrel options that you could look at. You could look at Four Roses single barrel proofs. Now those are just phenomenal too. You've got 10 different recipes that you can pick one. You've got Knob Creek single barrels. Now sometimes you can find those at 120, or recently they've been releasing ones over 120 proof. I mean, there's just a ton of options. You've got what used to be known as Kentucky Spirit, but it's Wild Turkey private barrel selections. Those are single barrel options that you can look at too, that are just great options if you want that 101 proof point, but you still want a single barrel. There's a lot of different options for you. For me though, my money's going right here, because at 60 to 65 bucks, you're not gonna find a better whiskey in the world, and I don't care what you say, I'll fight you in the parking lot over that one, because these things are just delicious. The next bottle I wanna talk about is something that I consider kind of a dessert whiskey, something that you're just sipping on. It's kind of like the opposite of what I just did with that Jack Daniel's. I mean, there's no better bottle for me that's kind of the other side of the coin. Still really intense flavors, but lower proof. And the one I'm going to look at is a double oaked, and that double oak bottle I'm going to talk about is Woodford Reserve Double Oaks. At 90.4 proof, Woodford Reserve just shelf bottle double oaks are fantastic bottles to pick up. You get all sorts of different chocolates, you get raisins in these, you get, from me, I get a balsamic vinegar. I might be the only person in the world that gets that, but I always get like this balsamic vinegary taste that's just really appealing to me. It's something I really enjoy. But there is a ton of flavors. No matter what flavors you're finding these, you can't deny that there's a ton of them in there. Double oaks to me are just probably one of my favorite categories of whiskey. I think that is something that's easy for somebody that's just getting into the world of whiskey to explore. Not to mention that there's no better old fashioned than a chocolate old fashioned. Take some chocolate bitters, you put it in with this, or cherry bitters too. I mean, that's another good combination with this. There's all sorts of good drinks that you can make with this as a base spare for your cocktail. But just to sip neat or over ice for somebody that's just getting into whiskey, real good bottle. Now, if you want that double oak experience, but maybe you don't want Woodford Reserve for whatever reason, I'd say try a 1910 by Old Forester. Another great bottle. It's made by the same family. It's Brown-Forman, but if you don't want that, you've got different ones like Sagamore Spirits, which is a double oak rye. You could try that, which is just delicious. That is such a good bottle. Another option for you would be Penelope Toasted. All those bottles are all going to come in right around the same price, so that 50, $50 to $55, $60 maybe at the most. So that leaves us just enough money to pick up one last bottle. I know I already have one rye in this, but I don't really consider that a rye. I consider that a single barrel rye because those are just such unique expressions that I think you have to have a good solid rye in this collection too. And so the bottle I'm going to recommend to you is Sazerac Full Proof Rye at 125 proof for $38. This thing is delicious. This is just a win every time you get one of these bottles. This bottle has competed up against Thomas Handy for me, and it's split. It won one blind and it lost one blind, but it was always close. If you can take a $38 bottle and compare it against something people hunt for and stand in line overnight for, and it does all right, come on, man, why not? This is a wonderful bottle for cocktail mixing, for drinking neat, for throwing over ice, for just introducing a low rye into your life. So maybe you just want to dip your toe into ryes because you're just getting into this, but you want to try something a little oomph to it. This is your bottle. You get a lot of really good, interesting citrus flavors with this, at least I do. I get some lemons in here, I get some orange zest, I get all sorts of caramels, I get candy with this, all sorts of really delicious bourbon flavors I'm finding in this as well. This is really a no-lose bottle, and at $38, you're not going to lose anything. That brings our total, I think, up to like $240 or something, but I damn sure know that it's under $250. So I think we did what we needed to do, but let's talk about some alternatives for this bottle. Alternatives for a rye, I would say something like Sagamore Spirits. So definitely any one of their cast strength ryes, those are still going to keep you right around $40, $45, I think is kind of what those are sitting at least you can find them sometimes around me for that. I would also consider something like a Rittenhouse rye. Rittenhouse ryes are really solid mixers. They're 100 proof, they're bottled and bond, they're great options. I would say Pikesville. Right now on Remedy Liquor, you can get a Pikesville, I want to say for like 35 bucks or something, $35. It's a crazy price for it. It's a really great solid rye and at a real decent price. I would definitely say Jack Daniel's Bonded Rye is another rye that I really enjoy. Michter's Rye is another rye that comes right around that $40 price point. That's just a good option and a good daily sipper or a good kind of introduction, dip your toe into rye. So there's a lot of good options for you, but for me, dollar for dollar, proof for proof, this is the one that you're going to want to get. So that's what I have for you as far as building a selection of whiskey with 5 bottles for under $250. I want to know what you think. Would you take those 5 bottles, or would you take that $250 and spend it on one bottle? I mean, it's really kind of an interesting thought. What would you do if you were given that option? I know what I'm doing. I'm taking the selection. I'm going to go with 5 different bottles that give me 5 different experiences that I can make a whole bunch of cocktails with, that I can really kind of like explore the world of whiskey and kind of get some different feelings and some different tastes from it, and some different experiences. That's what I'm going with. Now, I will ask you this. What would you substitute on my list? I gave you guys some alternatives. Are there some alternatives that you're like, hey Joe, what the hell, man? Look at these. These are things that you should really consider. What are you thinking? If there are options that you think that I missed, throw them on the list. Throw them on a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd really love to hear it. Hey guys, but until next time, thanks for stopping by and checking out another episode, and cheers from the whiskey tank.